Jen.
Morning. Show you and talk, and we don't have a lot of time to do it. So I just want to say good morning. Thank you for all being here. This is the largest panel I've ever seen that I've ever been a part of. This is special for me because many years ago, 1990 to be exact, right before Christmas, I left on what would become a great adventure of filming the very first, what I call the very first G.I. Joe mini movie, but I even like what Carson calls it, the first live-action micro movie. So we're going to get started. Carson's going to kind of ask me a few questions. We'll introduce some of the segments. This footage that we're going to see has not been seen, even by me, since I shot it in 1990. So I just turned over a bunch of Sony 8mm videotapes and said, Carson, I have no idea what's on these tapes. And I said, but they're labeled G.I. Joe live action commercial, and he took it from there. And
I said, I'll take it.
And it's just been, you know, a great relationship that we've struck up over the last few years. And when I found out what he did for a living, I said, he's the man.
That's right.
So with that, we start.
Awesome, thank you, Kurt. And I really just feel a tremendous amount of respect for him. The lifelong love of G.I. Joe, even well after he left Hasbro, this guy is the biggest advocate for G.I. Joe, and that's the thing that impressed me about him the most, is he's so willing to talk to any and all of us. So we don't have a lot of time, we got a lot to get through, so I'm going to keep it moving. We'll just click through the first few slides. It'll say 1982, 1983, 1984. My clicker doesn't reach, so a big thanks to Jesse for helping out, and thanks to the Triangle Joes for filming this, and we'll put this on YouTube later for the folks that couldn't make it.
Thank you, guys.
So in 1982, we started out with obviously animated intros and live action scenes of kids playing with toys, and we also had product shots in the studio. We'll go to 83. And we continued that formula for 83, we'll go to 84. We continued the formula for 84, not a lot of changes going on. Still, the primary voices were a voiceover narrator, voice of God kind of thing, and the kids playing with the toys, narrating how much fun they were having. We'll keep going. And then we added kids into the live action product shots, which was very interesting, kind of micro kids inside of a big scene. So this was a ton of fun. This was envisioning yourself in the vehicles, playing with the vehicles, interacting with the vehicles for the first time. So this just woke my imagination. I wanted to ask Kurt first question. Did this lead into the Live the Adventure theme in 1986? Because this very much spoke to living the adventure.
Yeah, that's exactly what evolved out of this was, you know, the fact that we've actually now we're showing commercials with kids interacting. I mean, in the lower left, you see the kids on the flight deck with the Sky Striker. So you imagined yourself as part of the G.I. Joe team being on board a ship, and definitely it led to that whole idea of live the adventure.
So the 86 catalog, you got the awkward kid in the corner that's going into the very dangerous wooded scene with the G.I. Joes, and everybody's like, what's that kid doing there? I'm like, he's living the adventure. That's where this started. The whole live the adventure thing started in 85, a year earlier with putting kids into the scene. So we'll keep going to 86. So we introduced some 3D animation kind of modeling here at the beginning of the commercial to show this kind of Tron-looking wireframe around the vehicles before it transformed into the real vehicle and took flight. We also introduced the first live-action actor, which was Sergeant Slaughter. But I will say the Sergeant Slaughter scene was basically him walking up out of a jungle set and saying a couple lines. So it wasn't storytelling at this point. We'll go to the next one. Then we introduced a second style of animation, which is the more watercolor kind of, this is called rotoscoping. You shoot the vehicles and then you draw over them, and that creates a rotoscoped animation style. So there are now two animation styles. You have the traditional Sunbow cartoon, and then you have the rotoscoped more watercolor look. That will only last for a couple years. We also still had the 3D wireframe, but now the 3D wireframe was color. So we'll keep going. Oh, you had the fridge up there, live action too. So we're going to hit the button to the right and play one of these commercials. Hopefully.
That's right, it's William the Refrigerator Barry Fridge is on G.I. You can get a free fridge. Here's out. Select 5 fridge certificates or call the number on the certificate and the fridge will tell you how to get in on the action with only 4 certificates. There's a $1 handling charge. See details on specially marked G.I. Joe packages. Watch out for rules.
the fridge. The first one is on the left. I think we might have clicked past it, and that's totally fine because we're short on time. We'll put it online. So let's click to the next slide.
That Joe's surrounded by cobras. Yeah, but that Joe's Sergeant Slaughter. He's joined the G.I. Joe team, so we're celebrating by giving away Sergeant Slaughter action figures. But you can't buy them in stores. You've never heard of them. Here's how. Collect 5 Sergeant Slaughter certificates or call the number on the certificate, and Sergeant Slaughter will tell you how to get in on the action with only 4 certificates. There's a $1 handling charge. See details in specially marked packages. G.I. Joe. Nobody chased on Cobras better than Sergeant Slaughter.
All right, that's great. So you'll notice he has like 1 or 2 lines, and he's just stepping forward from a jungle. So that was it for live action. Let's keep going. All right, so 87, we had still the 2 animation styles, the Sunbow style and the rotoscope kind of watercolor textury looking one. We'll keep going. And then we introduced the first live action commercial. This isn't a micro movie. This isn't as exhaustive as what Kurt did for a month of his life and put his marriage in danger for in 1991. This is just a much smaller commercial, so we'll show this.
Super Trooper, there's only one way to get it. Send 4 Super Trooper certificates and a $1 handling charge. See details on specially marked packages for your Super Trooper, the ultimate warrior.
I don't know about you guys, but my mind was blown when I saw that commercial. He got to come to life. He beat up like 12 Iron Grenadiers in that commercial. Plus there were ninjas. I don't know if y'all noticed the ninja characters. So that was really cool. So Kurt, second question was, where did the decision to do live action storytelling to illustrate the product come from?
Well, this commercial might have been the genesis of it. This was going to be a one-off commercial that Griffin McCall created for us. They were looking to do something a little different for the promotional spot. In actuality, Griffin McCall, who was our main agency, got very jealous of an idea that was presented to us by BBDO, my advertising agency that I was working with when I was handling G.I. Joe direct mail program. We had hired BBDO Direct to provide us with the creative. BBDO Direct, one of the oldest ad agencies in the country, came up with this live action idea and presented it to me because I was doing the Super Trooper idea for part of the G.I. Joe direct mail offers. And I said, yeah, this is great because now I'm in competition with guys working on the G.I. Joe brand. And competition is what makes me, tick. Yeah, exactly. When I saw this, I presented it to our management team. The management team loved it. Griffin McCall, I could see kind of liked it, but then said, we want to do the filming because we want it to be consistent with the G.I. Joe brand. No problem. So we did this shot in New York City. Was the most expensive single commercial Hasbro had ever shot at that time. Wow. And stuck in the back of my head, the live action.
Awesome. So there's a very direct line from Kurt. Kurt basically worked on the brand from 82 to 86, and he single-handedly helped build Hasbro, the mail order direct program. And so he pioneered this first live action commercial too, and I didn't know that, so it's great. We'll keep going. 89, we had live action Sergeant Slaughter on every commercial. We'll keep going. That's all I'm saying about him. It's had enough. All right, so then we had live action Sergeant Slaughter interaction with an animated Overlord, right? It was funny, the banter back and forth between them. It was a good interaction, and I bought the live action and animated commercial mix. So we'll keep going. So then we got to the big pioneering moment where we decided to do live action and serial storytelling. So live action obviously is live actors with costumes. Serial storytelling means you're building on each commercial to build a sequential narrative. So if you watch all these commercials back to back to back, you're going to get one big story. So that's why we call it the first micro movie. So we'll move to the next slide. So that brings us to 1991. This is what Kirk spent, a month of his life doing between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and it's very perilous. As you'll see, there's some very dangerous scenes here. They changed the way they did it between 91 and 92 because of that. So I don't want to spoil it too much. Let's show the next slide. There's Kirk. I
look happy then. But there's a whole other part of the the story behind this.
Yeah. All right, so we'll jump into the next slide. This is an introduction from Kirk showing you guys around the facility. We'll hit next again.
G.I. Joe, a micro movie, day one, ice cave set. This is a portion of Paralyzer, which will be used in a fight sequence later on. Tracks. This is one of the G.I. Joe battle copies. Finishing touches being put on the colors and almost ready to fly. Over in the corner there, the Badger, and a wheel for the Badger, which will be attached to it. This is our G.I. Joe arsenal. All kinds of guns. This is the backdrop. It's about 150 feet long. That's the largest sky ever done for any G.I. Joe commercial, certainly for most of any commercial we've ever done. Here we are creating the miniature world of G.I. Joe. The most impressive set is this, Cobra's Temple of Doom. This is the back of the Cobra Temple of Doom. You just get a nice panoramic view of the studio where all the crew members busily putting everything together. They're putting some finishing touches now to the interior. We're getting prepared for what we think is going to be a very, very exciting shoot for G.I. Joe.
All right, so that was just basically an introduction to it. Kirk, if you want to say a couple things about first impressions, if you worked with it.
Yeah, before we do that, let's explain why we decided to go to the live action, because that was a big fight with Griffin McCall as well. Griffin McCall had created the G.I. Joe idea of animation, introducing product, and they were locked into animation from 82 to 90. My whole career, I decided to be the new buzzword in marketing today is to be a disruptor. My whole career at Hasbro, I was a disruptor. I hated status quo. My idea was always push the envelope, do different things. G.I. Joe peaked in sales in 1986. In 1987, 1988, 1989, into 1990, G.I. Joe was on a decline. So I was brought back onto the brand in 1989, having been doing other things from 86 to 89. The direct marketing program, I was in charge of a place called Baby, as far away from Hasbro Boys Toys as you could get. And so I was doing a lot of different things for Hasbro. And when they brought me back, when I was brought back onto the line in end of 1989, I'm looking at sales, and I'm watching my sales go south. Now, what good marketing people try to do is prevent that, okay? So what I did was, I started thinking, what are we doing and how can we change? And the one common element that I saw was our advertising. Nothing had ever changed. We get the little tweak that you saw with the wireframe vehicle or whatever, or the rotoscope vehicle, but you never saw a radical change. So when we filmed that live action Super Trooper commercial, that stuck in my head. And when I finally was put in complete command of G.I. Joe and Boys Toys in 1989, I met with Griffin McCall and said, we got to change things. Our business is going south, we've got to do something different. I want to see live action. Joe McCall, the creative director of Griffin McCall, said there's no way, impossible, we can't do it. It's going to be too expensive. So I said, show me a budget. Don't just tell me it's going to be too expensive. Show me a budget. Because I knew how expensive the animation was. Okay? So about a month later, this is early summer of 1990, Joe comes into a meeting with me and he says, Ed, we have a way we think we can shoot this commercial and make it on budget. We have to go away and shoot every single commercial in one shoot. Now ordinarily what we did is we do 3 or 4 commercials, come back home, relax for a couple of months, go off to another location, do 3 or 4 commercials. This time we had to shoot, I think it was 12 commercials all at one time to maximize the use of the studio. So that's just a little background on how this evolved. So,
Thank you. So the way that it's organized going forward, you'll see footage from behind the scenes of the making of a specific commercial. Then you'll see a very new master that just came off a VHS master. I wish we had beta or something, but it's a VHS master and a DVD master of the first 4 live action commercials. Happy to supply this to anybody and everybody. I would say YoJo just worked with Declassified to get on a hard drive this morning full of TV commercials. I'm partnering with YoJo to share all of our TV files across both of our platforms. We work together in the benefit of the brand. So these commercials will be going out on YoJo's channels and in my 3D Joe's channels as well. So you'll be seeing those. So we're going to go ahead and start the first commercial here.
Okay, here we go. Step, very quiet. All right, roll tape. Camera. Action. Action. Action.
You did that about 9 times.
I shortened it for you.
Right to me. You know, okay. Keep going. Keep going. All right, now cut down. Okay, then we'll go.
The man in the striped sweater is John
Take it
Stern,
out, back it up.
the director of these commercials.
Looks pretty good. Yeah. I mean, it really looks real. Yeah.
Ren Roberts,
Johnny Chuck keeps saying we're filming a feature movie here, and I said, you're absolutely right. That's good.
Monster explosion. Okay, we all set? Yes. Gary, just come back a little bit, Gary. A little more wheel. Just where? And hold it down. Here we go. Here we go. Set. We're rolling? Yes. Here we go. Ready and action.
Here comes the sinister Cobra Paralyzer with 3 awesome missiles that really fire.
Fire! I got the blaster top!
Not so fast, Snake Run! It's the G.I. Joe Badger with 3 powerful firing missiles.
Fire!
Cobra Paralyzer and G.I. Joe Badger sold separately. Anybody got parachute?
I tried to interject here. John Sterner, the director of these commercials, became a very good friend of ours. John, if you're familiar with the Tyco RC vehicle commercials, John Sterner filmed every one of those Tyco vehicle commercials. Yeah, that was his expertise. He was not a theatrical movie director. This was all new territory for John Sterner and his crew. He had never done a commercial like this before. And so all the effects that you see in this commercial, the explosions, everything is done what they call via practical effects. There's no computer animation in these commercials. This is all using the old-fashioned squibs and explosive squibs. We had to have an armorer on the set, a guy who knew how to, set up explosive charges so that they could safely go off. And I'm sure you have footage. Yeah, sometimes. Because I'm sure you're going to show footage of when it didn't happen so safely. That's right. And that involves
All right, so these slides will be on the extended video. But basically, Christopher Latta obviously did the voice of the Cobra Commander, so that's why you heard the beep, 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 and then the actor took off because he was acting to Christopher Latta's voice. He's Roger Cross, who played Cobra Commander. He went on to be a very, very successful actor, according to Ren Roberts, who's the Duke in the commercials. He says he's the one that really blew up and did some things, so a lot of TV shows and commercials. So we'll keep going. All right, so the end of the Paralyzer commercial had Duke in a very perilous situation, falling off the side of the mountain. And the next time we saw him was at the beginning of the Air Commandos commercial, and he's fighting in like a puddle of toxo sludge. So we didn't know what happened there. It was non-linear, and that really bothered me. So we started searching. Let's go to the next slide. And I obviously started with Yo Joe. I looked at my playlist. We didn't have the answer. What was that gap in the middle? So thanks to Mr. Adam Riches and also Kirk Bazigian sending the new masters, we have found the missing second commercial.
Never seen before.
So the mystery character that was in all of this footage that I knew there was a second commercial for was this guy, Major Altitude, very nice costume. We'll keep going. And this will be the behind the scenes footage of this commercial followed by the new master.
This is called green screen. And when you see him in the commercial, it actually looks like he's falling through the air.
Action! Look above my head and down! Wait, go back! Started too slow. And action!
Remember that scene earlier? There's the special effects, the one on top of the other. Here you see the helicopter in the background,
You can't shoot footage.
and Duke falling in the foreground.
You ready? Ready and action.
Finishing touches being put to the Cobra Paralyzer.
Ready and action! Lay back. Here we go. Let's go. Everyone on one. Tell me when you have speed unloaded. Camera. Randy, all right? Okay. Hey, by the way, expression as you come down. Okay. One more time.
Getting ready for his big fall. You see a lot of people going to making a single scene happen.
Pull the boxes out, let's go. Ready and action is your cue. Can you see? Don't let him hit the ground hard. All the way up, be ready and action and down. Let him fan his dead. Take it out.
Hey, take it on, Mike.
Action!
Go, Mike. I hate when this happens.
Hey, cut.
Take it off, Mike.
Action!
Go, Mike. I hate when this happens.
John question is very right.
Thanks. Look, Cobra's got the plasma talk. Here comes G.I. Joe battle copters. Zip strip copters that really fly high. Perfect. We're dropping in an expect. Oh, Watch out, Duke. Cobra's got battlecopters too. Cobra and G.I. Joe battlecopters can work with any figure. G.I. Joe and Cobra battlecopters sold separately with figure. Hey, when did that happen?
There's another little backstory to this commercial. Hasbro was fined $25,000 by the FTC for running this commercial. And because Mattel complained that one of the shots in this commercial could never have been done, and they were right, where you saw the two helicopters collide, we could never get that to happen by a kid pulling the zip cord. So we rigged it, because it added to the drama and sense of the commercial. Now, maybe after 1,000 tries, kids could do it. That was our justification. Sure, a kid could do it, okay? But for the commercial, we didn't have 1,000 tries, okay? So we rigged it. And I will go down in infamy for many other things at Hasbro as well, but for this commercial.
So they also had to use a prototype Duke because there wasn't a current Duke at the time, so I thought it'd be fun to show that oil painted prototype with the Duke head on it. We'll keep moving. This was the mystery character. There is the mystery rigged battlecopter. So there was actually a battery in there that kept the rotor moving, and it was suspended from fishing poles to have the illusion that it's flying itself, but really they were moving it with fishing poles. So that's how they were able to capture the impossible. We'll go to the next slide. And this is where they got sued. Next slide. And this explains a little bit about why they got sued, so a little more detail. Next slide. Okay, so this is the behind-the-scenes footage of the next commercial, followed by the new master of the next commercial.
Ready, and action.
Duke needs help. Send in the air commandos.
Here's our Cobra Sky Creeper, all suited up and ready to go into combat. We've all been wondering how exactly this was going to work. We should know in a few minutes.
And out! Now!
Bill, you look comfortable up there.
Fill up. From here, drop it down, look around, bring it back up. Here we go. Action. Heroic Bill. Down. Take the road. Okay, rotate. Stay, put it all away. Down on. Go ahead. Action. Go down. And down. Let out and see the replay. Play it back again, Chris. Play it back. Keep rolling.
Got it.
Action! And back.
The battle for the plasmatox takes to the skies with Joe and Cobra Air Commandos, soaring gliders that can fly up to 30 feet.
I've got the plasmatox! Cobra!
And here comes the G.I. Joe attack cruiser. It fires 2 missiles and a flying jet bomb. Cobra Marvels! Air Commandos come with figure. Attack cruiser sold separately.
Cobra Reconners! Touchdown!
Quickly, it should go with me at least recognizing Ren Roberts' diligence in filming these commercials. He never said no to anything. And when you see him fighting in that water, this was filmed in Vancouver, Canada. It was filmed in a studio that was unheated on December 13th. Okay? The water in that swimming pool was about 35 degrees. Okay? And he did about 7 or 9 takes. I forget how he kept, and he never said no. John kept saying, another one, and he'd keep doing it. Get into a new clean change of clothes, and drop them in there, and you'd get soaking wet. Never a complaint.
They only had 2 or 3 costumes, and so they throw the costume in a dryer, put him in the other costume. For this scene, his hair was already wet because he's jumping up out of the puddle, but for the other scene where he wrecked the battlecopter, they had to take 30 minutes between each take so that they could fix his perfect hair. The first scene that did make the commercial, Duke is in trouble, call in the air commandos. They made up a joke about him. They were like, Duke is in trouble, call in the hair commandos. One of the things I wanted to talk about was how dangerous the shoot was. On the last explosion with Night Vulture, I believe that's Night Vulture's Air Commando glider, the last explosion didn't blow up. It actually blew the wing apart. So you can see holes in the top right corner up there, and that was the last take, and they were done.
We were done.
I'll tell you, the director sounded nervous. He was like, cut. It was a little perilous. The other thing was when Kirk was driving in the battle wagon, it literally caught fire while he's in there. The back end of this thing. Kirk, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of money, so we couldn't hire extras. So everybody on the shoot was pressed into service as extras, unpaid, by the way. And because there's no SAG up in Canada at the time, I don't even know if there is today. Anyway, I was the driver of the battle wagon, so they suited me up. Ren's on the outside. I'm manning the machine gun, and I'm in the cage driving. And they had to lock that cage because it was on a rolling thing that made the battle wagon look like it was going up and down, and you didn't want the cockpit cage to flap, so it was locked down. And you can see in the commercial, you'll see squids, machine gun fire, go across the outside of the battle wagon. We did this about 3 times, and on the 3rd take, the explosions went off. Now that's made out of plywood. That battle wagon was made out of like 1/4-inch plywood. On the last take, I hear John Sterner yell, "It's on fire! Get him out!" And I'm looking around going, what is he talking about? Sure enough, the back half of the battle wagon was burning on fire. Now my wife in the audience, she's got a shocked look on her face. She never knew that story.
Behind the scenes footage for the next commercial, followed by the commercial.
Ready and action!
You can see how toxic sludge is.
Bottom doubling is good. A little more smoke. Okay. Bubbles on. Bubbles on. Dry ice in. Ready, Jay? When we run the camera, you start forward. Camera. Rolling. Ready, action! Forward! Action! More! Good. Good.
Now we look at our set from the other end.
One more.
This is an air cannon, which is going to help cause some of the explosions. And that thing up top is what's going to blow off when we actually destroy the Cobra Toxo Sludge Factory. This is what the tanks look like. If you step around to the back, that's an air cannon that's going to blow the roof off. This is Alan, our pyrotechnics and special effects master.
Ready, film! Action!
Here's a look at the carnage left from the explosion. And this is our G.I. Joe Brawler. You see the battle damage. It's a little more than I would think a real brawler would take, but it works for the commercial.
Hey, action!
And I just had it washed!
Action!
And I just had it washed! Now go ahead!
We've now created the polar ice cave that Duke is going to run through. This is our set from last week. Here's Hero Duke playing with his M16.
Ready, and action!
The plasma box!
Now I can pollute the entire world!
The G.I. Joe Brawler attacks! Blasting Cobra with twin missile launchers!
Fire!
And the Cobra Ice Saber strikes back with a cat-firing rocket launcher!
said to Carson, you know how Cobra Commander is dumping out that little plasma tox? The next time you get a McDonald's milkshake, realize you're drinking plasma tox. Because that's what goes into a McDonald's milkshake, that clear, it's actually plastic is what they call it. And then they mix it with flavoring and coloring. That's a McDonald's milkshake.
So the lesson of the day is don't drink McDonald's milkshake.
All right, or enjoy a glass of plasma tox.
So we'll keep moving to the next commercial.
This is gonna be a real blast!
Ready, and action!
This is gonna be a real blast!
Real bull,
Yeah.
fast, tough,
This is gonna be a real blast!
good, right? And action!
This is gonna be a real blast!
John Stern, film crew, along with the agency. It's a shot board. Every time you knock off a shot, a red X is placed over that.
You want the Joe figures on a slightly higher level than the Cobra figures?
Yes, I want them separated, separated 3 and 3.
Like fighting roosters, they can't be in the same.
Right,
Alright.
you got it.
There's no other way. He's just standing by looking like, Camera. And action. Ready and action. Get up, drop, yeah! Ready and zoom, action. Back. Action. Ready and zoom, action. Yes. Got it. Rotate. Camera. Ready, action. Dip in, don't lean in yet. Lean in, that's it, great, great. A little shake this time, ready, and action. And shake into the, there you go.
In the loopy environment, Cobra unleashes the septic tank and evil eco-warriors. But the Joes have eco-warriors too. The septic tank and eco-warriors have powerful water guns. And when hit, they change color to reveal battle damage.
My suit's corroding! Clean it up!
Joe and Cobra color change eco-warriors and septic tanks sold separately.
I've only begun to mess around!
So one of the things, that's not as much live action in that commercial, but it's still in the linear sequence, because in the last one, he got shot out of his tank and fell into the pool of sludge, and in this one, they're washing him off. So that speaks to the story of this being a one long linear narrative. The other thing I wanted to say was that Ren Roberts was not a trained stuntman, so all that stuff he's going through, he had some people, they brought in people that trained him. The guy that played Interrogator was his trainer, and Ren was learning on the job, so to speak. So one time when he jumped on the paralyzer and they were doing rehearsals and the Interrogator didn't have a helmet on, he broke his nose. He said his nose was sideways, and he felt terrible for the rest of the 3 weeks. So, you want to talk a little about the stunts and how?
We met in the, like I say, these commercials were shot between the end of Thanksgiving. I left the day after Thanksgiving, and I came home the day before Christmas Eve. It was supposed to be a 2-week shoot. And my wife was home with, I think a 7, a 4, and a 2-year-old or something like that. And 2 weeks into the shoot, I sent her some flowers. Because I knew the shoot was going to be extended. And so she said, when I talked to her that night, she said, what were the flowers for? Because I've never sent my wife flowers. And I said, well, I'm going to be here another week. And then I called her the next Saturday and said, I'm going to be here another week. And she was really good about it. She handled it well. She knew it was part of the job. She just said, please, try and get home before Christmas. And the day before, the day I was supposed to fly out, which I think was the 22nd or 23rd, I forget now, Vancouver had the biggest snowstorm since 1932. And the airport was shut down. So I called her at 7 o'clock at night, and I said, I'm stuck in Vancouver for another day. And she said, fine, if you want to stay in Vancouver in this Christmas, for this stupid commercial shoot.
So we're still celebrating it here 25 years later.
And we're still married, happily. She's been the best.
We'll move on to the next commercial. Got about 10 minutes.
These doors are your typical Star Trek type doors. These are our Cobra sludge tanks. You can see our Cobra janitor inside cleaning them all out, getting ready to receive a new batch of toxo sludge. Here's a Cobra toxo viper, hard at work, putting in a tough day at the office. Here we are in the Cobra sludge room. Toxo sludge bubbling destroying Cobra Commander and his elite Crimson Guard at control panels.
Ready, and action! Action!
This is the Gatling gun being moved into position. As you can see, the battle wagon has been completely weathered and is very battle tested. Look at this. He loads the shop back up with dust. And here's how it works.
This is Kirk Bazigian preparing for his film debut in the mini G.I. Joe movie being shot in Vancouver.
I may have a whole new career here, guys.
As you can see, he looks pretty rugged. He's either going to a movie set or he's going to Saudi Arabia. That's Kirk Bazigian inside that cockpit. He's inside the G.I. Joe battle wagon. He says, war is up. Thumbs up! All right.
Get the wheel going real fast. And ready, push. Ready, and action! Push. Ready, action!
Woo! Man!
Ready, and action! Set on bombs. Here we go. Set. Tape. Roll tape. HD. Camera. Ready and action. Cut.
Rolling into action, it's the battery-powered G.I. Joe battle wagon with motorized four-wheel drive. The battle wagon's motorized gun shoots eight rapid-fire missiles. That battle wagon's which will bring the house down. The battle wagon with motorized four-wheel drive and removable rapid-fire gun.
So that footage, I'll be back, G.I. Joe didn't make it to cut. It wasn't in the commercials. It was just Kirk caught it behind the scenes. So thanks to him for catching all of this footage. We have so much more of it. We'll be posting a 47-minute edit that's pretty much wall-to-wall narrative of Kirk either narrating what's happening or the director giving a lot of feedback. We'll also post the 20 minutes worth of edited videos that we shared throughout the presentation. There's a bunch of different thematic clips. And again, Kirk hasn't seen this stuff in 25 years. So any thoughts on how many more minutes do we have? 5 minutes.
Plus, I've got the next panel, so we
We can run along. I don't know how Larry's
No,
doing.
Larry wants to.
All right. We do have another clip if you want to play it. It's not a closing.
Here we are setting up for the grand finale shot. You know the 1812 overture? Well, the G.I. Joe War and Peace epic has its own 1812 overture. As we blast the G.I. Joe Battle Wagon Gatling Cannon. See if we can get a Gatling gun action. So we can cut into the live portion of the commercials, simulate Battle Wagon destroying Cobra's Temple of Doom.
Here we go. Ready and action.
24 steps. Here's David applying the final X to our sheets.
This production house again.
Not if they put us through this hell.
War is hell. We found that out making this shoot this year. Next year, you got all the bugs out. Next year, we'll even do it better.
Tim?
And so the final curtain rings down on the 1991 G.I. Joe production. Get a panoramic view of the studio once again as we finally break down on the final day of shooting. Our home for the last 3.5 weeks.
So there's a lot more footage, and we'll post all of it. I'll let Kurt finish up.
It was just, like I say, it was a disrupting kind of commercial. We did it for the next couple of years. It rejuvenated the G.I. Joe brand. G.I. Joe, I believe, had been down as low as $89 million in sales when I came back on the brand in 1989, coincidentally. And with this series of commercials, the brand shot back up to $115 million. Now, that's just domestic sales. That wasn't global sales, because we weren't a global company at that time. We had G.I. Joe in various countries, but they were under license. So we were getting royalties for their sales. We weren't getting their actual sales volume. So it was just an amazing shoot. Made a lot of good lifetime friendships on that shoot with the people involved. Willie Suarez, Tim Spidell, Jay Bacall, who was responsible for all the Sunbow animation. He's in this at this shoot. And the other interesting thing is, every other shoot I'd ever been on, either Tom Griffin or Joe Bacall was on the shoot as support. Neither one ever came to these shoots. And that was a sign of confidence that they had in us and the team developing and filming these commercials. So those guys, John Sterner, his Firehouse Films crew, they were spectacular. Like I say, John had never ever done theatrical, if you will, in quotes, kind of a shoot before. We spent months, literally from, as I recall, from July until November, doing pre-production meetings every couple of weeks in New York. How are we going to film plasma toxin? How are we going to simulate the explosions? How are we going to do all these stunts? Who's going to do the costuming? I mean, all the things that go into doing a real movie were things we had to think about and sort out. And so it was an incredible experience. I'm glad Carson put it all together, because otherwise these little Super 8 Sony cassettes would still be collecting dust in my basement. So I wanted to share it with you people.
So thank you all. It's wall to wall back there.